What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brad.
It's Logan, baby.
And welcome back to the potty.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but we're here. We're back.
We're here.
We're doing it. And we're doing an indie film today, baby.
Yes, we are. We are doing iPossessed. Just a little background. This is a film by Carl Remy and Tammy Boothby, and Tammy actually plays my mom in the feature film The Executioner that I'm doing, so I've been able to hang out with them a lot. We've worked on another proof of concept together, but I was very honored to see their film before it actually screened, and then when I saw the opportunity again, I was like, Logan, we need to do a review. Let's go watch iPossessed.
It was the final cut, because you saw like a previous cut, right?
Yes.
How different was it?
It wasn't very much different, but I think there's some certain scenes added that I liked, you know what I mean? There was things that were changed, but most of it was pretty similar, I would say.
Yeah, I love the concept. It's a very unique film. A lot of indie films, like you see now with Anora killing it, winning Best Picture.
Yeah,
right?
they won the most Oscars this year, actually.
Yeah, that's insane. A sweep. There's a streaming service that owns them too, and it's like you don't even know the name, and it's just like, bro, because they picked him up because nobody else picked him up.
They're like, yeah,
dude, they were hyped up, dude. So funny. Yeah. But no. So anyways, so indie films finally kind of making a I don't say comeback, but kind of
Well, you know what? It's a lot of what we talked about in The Executioner. I think Terrifier is like a big thing that spawned that hope for independent horror, at least, Now
you got a Nora for independent movies in general.
Right. And, but at least I don't know about, like, their inspiration behind it, but with this stuff, like, Terrifier's on its third movie now. They went from, like, a 5-digit budget to, like, a 7-digit budget, you know what I mean? So it's, like, it's a game changer now. So people are very hyped up, and these creative stories are coming out that studios won't put out, so it's nice that I feel like these independent films are gaining mainstream media. I haven't seen Anora, but I didn't know it has a lot to do with like sex trafficking and stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't see it either, but I know the main girl from it. She was in Scream.
Mickey Madison. Mickey Madison.
Yeah, she was phenomenal in that. And I've seen a lot of clips from it. It looks really, really good, but I just haven't had a chance to check it out.
Right.
But yeah, so iPossessed, it's not like your typical possession movie. By the way, check out the merch. It's not your typical possession film where like there's a person that's possessed and they come after you and they're trying to kill you and stuff.
Right.
There is a little bit of like physical altercations and stuff like that, but basically what it is there's a group of like 5 friends that go to did you want to say something?
Well, it was just funny because I think I didn't even really think about that, but that's a good point. Like they use those elements, but it almost feels like centered rather than like that's what it's like. I don't know. It doesn't feel like we're just following a ghost the whole time. It's like the ghost is controlling the movie.
There's depth to it. It's not just the outer structure of a possession film.
Right.
There normally
the ghost has more importance than just being a ghost.
Exactly. Great point.
Yeah.
And what the ghost does or the possessed person is they bring the secrets of the people, the secrets of the past of the different characters to the light.
It's like
throughout the film.
Oddly, it's like Saw. Like the message behind Saw mixed with like The Conjuring in a way, or like Exorcist. Like someone gets possessed, and the ghost's goal is to kind of expose everyone for their their lies, and they want them to be honest with each other and really get to know each other.
Which is, I think that's probably the best part of the film is the character development. I mean,
right.
You really like these characters. You really, they're very relatable. They all have these different backstories that, like I said, people relate to, and then just moments that you're just not expecting, dude. It's and I want to kind of do like a spoiler-free kind of beginning here, but we can dive into it a little bit. But yeah, the character development is phenomenal, and there's some. I guess we could talk about some of the negatives. There are some like when you watch it, you can tell it's an indie film, right? With just some of the I don't know, the editing, right? It can be a little choppy at times. The acting can be a little rough at times. But really, other than that, the film's message, like you were stating, because every character has their own theme that they're trying to express to the audience.
Right.
Their own story, which is really interesting. And what I like, too, is they give each character their time. They don't really rush with one. Each character has their moment, and they do a really good job of letting that come to light.
Right. No, I 100% agree. It's crazy because there's, like, the cinematography really stood out to me. Like, I think they did an amazing job with the shots, and the location they picked is perfect, and yeah, but besides some of the cinematography work, like, I appreciate everyone's character and how they developed. you know, at some parts it does feel a little bit slower with the development, but then as it starts to pick up, it starts to really go from there. You know what I mean? You start to see characters one by one come out and like reveal themselves.
Start liking them. They become related. They become people.
Right. You know, one of my standout favorite moments actually was the best friend, the dude at the end, where he like, me and Sean were talking about it, he realized he was like screwed, and I don't want to spoil anything, but he kind of just like sits there for a minute after he asks the question, he's like, fuck! But it was like so relatable, you know what I mean? Because like it's probably how I'd react.
Oh, because you're you know, you're in a bad place.
Right.
You're about to die.
100%.
You know? Yeah.
And something I actually want to point out, I think this is one of my favorite things about the film. I love the composition and like the scoring of the movie. Like the song choices that they used, I know they had a few personal close friends or like artists, other independent artists that kind of worked on the film with them for the music and made songs for the film. But I felt like the first song that they used when she was driving up, like it was like watching I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Like
almost.
a Blumhouse film, or it's like the quality was really good.
You know what I mean?
It was really like way better than I expected personally.
100%, and that's, you know, in no way, but like you honestly, when you're watching it, you don't. There's certain aspects where you're like, wow, like this is a studio film. Like really, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You know what I mean? And especially when it comes, I really love the DP shots. Like, the cinematography, in my opinion, was fantastic. Just the shots, how they came down, swooped in, and...
They're very creative.
They're creative.
When they go, remember, from the guy's point of view, and it goes around the chair, and
he's right there.
It's beautiful.
No.
They do a phenomenal job.
Yeah, like, they did a very good job at crafting the scene.
And sometimes it's even better than some studio films.
100%.
Like, that's one thing that's really interesting, is, like, they did certain things that studio films don't do. But then there's a lot of moments where the indie kind of, you know, does reveal itself. So it's very up and down with the quality, but man, when it's bumping, it's bumping.
Right.
And that's, I think you made a great point earlier when you said sometimes it just feels like a little bit slow at times. And it's almost like that's kind of when they're in their indie phase. But then when they have momentum, dude, you're cooking and you're super invested. And it's a very character-driven film. It's a beautiful film when it has momentum. But I think the negative part of it is when you do reach that kind of indie, you know, land that they kind of dabble in sometimes, it can be a little bit distracting.
I think my way of putting it is like, because it's to me it's a double-edged sword. Like, there's moments, and I don't want to spoil in the film, but there's moments with, you know, the woman with the child, and there's moments with the best friend and his work, who he was talking to. You know what I mean? He's smiling because he knows what I mean.
I was like, what?
Those moments, are great, in my opinion, because I don't feel like studios touch on them because of how harsh and brutal they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's just a very ironic word they used in there.
Right, yeah. But
yeah, I think they touch on it very well.
Right. It's this guy.
I'm sorry, man. We're keeping it in. We're keeping it in.
No, but he's right. He is really right. It's as funny as it is. It's right. And I feel like, and that's why I'm like, it's not even a negative, but I can feel at times like it almost, you know, when we say indie, that's not meant to be a negative thing. It's just something that's traditionally not, I feel like, mainstream. And so pushing these subjects and topics can be risky, but for someone like me, I think it completely pays off. I just think sometimes that could be a tightrope to walk on. You know what I mean?
Oh, there were some things that were a lot of them were very tight to walk on. I think they did a very good job with that. I think my only kind of critique with that is maybe they could have revealed a little bit more throughout with some characters. Like, for example, I think the lady that plays your mom. So it didn't feel so
abrupt.
Right, exactly. That story was really drawn out. I think she probably had the best backstory out of anyone.
I agree.
The other ones were just very kind of abrupt, and you're like, it was a shocker. It was really, really cool. But instead of, you know, having, because you had the main guy as well, Carl, you know, his was more over the span of the whole film. And I think it's could have maybe have one kind of plot twist, maybe with the guy at the end. Right. But then you have like the whole thing with, you know, the wife and, you know, what's his name? The guy that comes in, the friend, and then it's like, oh yeah.
Buckley, right?
No, not Buckley. I'm talking about the guy that comes in late.
Oh, the abusive guy.
Yes. That's banging on the door and then comes in. And like that whole thing, I think could have maybe I don't know, you could have played with that a little bit more early on. But I think the plot twists are fun and it adds something to it. I just feel like, man, I wish I would have known a little bit more about those characters.
Right.
Specifically with the wife of Carl.
Well, you know what? One thing I really enjoyed, and I won't really give too much on where the relationship goes, but the relationship between Carl's character and the LT, like, I loved that, you know, this whole film we were kind of like following Carl's PTSD and, you know, everything coming back from the war, but we didn't really know why certain things were happening the way they were. And as you start to discover the relationship he had with his LT, it's something in the film that you didn't know was coming or it needed, but at the same time, I also agree with Carl. I think it made the film better. It was another layer that, like, just made everything interesting and honestly just gave another touch to a different message. You know what I mean?
That's
it was
what
like
I'm saying.
another.
It's like Carl's backstory, and that whole thing was my favorite. And then, you know, once again, what's her name that plays your mom?
Tammy.
Tammy. And Tammy as well. Really well. And the reason is because it was drawn out over time.
Right.
You felt like you were going through it with this person instead of being like, oh, yeah, this guy is very in touch with stuff.
Maybe with Buckley's, like, maybe we have to go, because I remember they mentioned watching it again, and, like, maybe if I'm, like, now that I know, if I go back and look for it, maybe it's, like, planted there more.
Possibly.
But it was, you know, that's one of those ones where I loved where they went with it, but I do agree, like, there could have been more sprinkles of revealance there with it, you know what I mean?
A little bit. I think it could have made the film a little bit better, at least with one of them. You know what I mean? With one of those characters, pick something for him. But no, overall though, yeah, I mean, there's really not a lot of negative things you can say about it. It's an indie film, and I think that, like I said, at times it does stuff that studio films wish they could do. Right. You know what I mean? Or that they haven't done recently and have been getting away with not doing, and I like that this film brought that to light. And when the momentum is cooking, it feels like you're watching a Blumhouse movie or an A24, probably, you know, better comparison there. But then at times you feel a little bit of that indie kind of come in. But I really do like this film. I think they did a really good job with it. And the fact this was Carl's first, you know, full control over over a feature film is incredible. I mean, he killed that. I thought he did a really, really good job. I'm very excited to see what he does in the future.
Yeah, I've told them both times I've seen it, like, it really, to me, has always just felt like something I would see on, like, Prime or Netflix. Like, it just gives me, like, Netflix original vibes. Like,
great service.
Again, there are moments, and, you know, like we were saying, there's moments where you do feel the indie, and that's okay. And that's why I love independent filmmaking. But at the same time, then there's those moments where you're like, dude, this was not made by, like, one or two people. This was made by a giant team with a studio behind it and bunch of money, and it's just not. And that's what makes them so impressive, this being their first film. Like Logan said, there's really not many negatives, you know what I mean? I think you could clean some tiny stuff up here and there, but besides that, it's all around. It hits the criteria, you know what I mean? Something you'll definitely be seeing on streaming coming soon, and they're doing good in the theaters right now, so happy for them.
Yeah, and if you're in the Florida area, man, Central Florida, they're traveling all around. They went to Tampa recently, going over to Melbourne and Merritt Island, and they're doing a lot. So definitely go support them if they're coming to your town. And follow iPossessed. I'll be putting all their stuff in the link in the description down below as well. Some just support your local indie filmmakers, man. You know, obviously it's paying off. Look at Honora winning best. That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I actually made a comment about how unbelievably, like, of a win it would be for independent filmmaking if Honora won, and then it did, and I was like, it just proves the fact that independent filmmaking is here to stay. And not that, like, one is better than the other, but they both bring different things to the table, you know? But yeah, super happy for Carl, super happy for Tammy. Can't wait to see it on, like, streaming platforms soon. It's going to be great.
It's unreal, man.
And I'll tell you this right now, there's a lot of movies I've seen on all these platforms where I was like, oh, dude, that looks so cool. I watched it and I was like, dude, this fucking movie sucked.
Yeah.
Their movie, I've seen it twice now. I'm like, I brought my friends. We were extremely pleasantly surprised when we left the movie.
It's fun. It's fun. It knows what it is. And
it's got humor at some parts.
That's the thing, is I think that the reason that the indie doesn't affect me too much is because it kind of plays into it a little bit.
Right.
It kind of knows, because this movie, Carl talks about, it was originally a comedy. It was a comedy horror.
Right.
And then they're like, no, let's lean into more of the psychological element, which I'm really, really glad they did, because they did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
But there are moments of humor, and even if they didn't mean for humor to be there, it plays really, really well.
Right.
And it molds into this type of film that maybe they didn't expect it to, but I think it really benefits the film in the long run.
It's like, I'm going to make this comparison, and it's not like they're the same type of film, but the vibe I get is like, I almost said Scream.
Hellgate.
The Hellgate, absolutely. No, like, Scary Movie. Like, it is a studio film, but it feels in ways very, like, indie-esque. You know what I mean? They just do stuff that normal studios things wouldn't do. And that's kind of what I get with, like, it's an independent film, but there's points where it feels studio-driven.
But way more better on the technical aspect of things.
Right.
Visuals.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they got, like, little elements of that, like, non-mainstream stuff that really piques my interest, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, all the practical effects and stuff was done really well, man. It's a really, really fun film. I'm trying to think if there's any other moments I want to talk about in particular. What about you?
No, I mean, I think it's just a movie everyone should go watch.
Please go watch it, yeah.
There's, like we said, there's a lot of funny moments, there's a lot of dramatic moments, and I think that's the problem with why I can't think of anything else. Like, every character has specific important moments that I could, like, sit here and talk about the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, even, you know, we didn't dabble as much, but Carl's wife and, like, her whole scandal, it's extremely interesting to see how, like, that played out as well and how Carl's reaction was. Like,
she was one of my favorite characters, because I think that actress, in my opinion, was that she jumped out at me the most out of any other actor on screen.
Right.
And for that film. She was unbelievable. She was actually really, really good. And I was really, you know, I knew there was something with her character, and I was like, man, they're not diving into the background of her character. I forgot her name in the movie.
Right.
At all. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And so she was very interesting to me. And then that moment of being, that was a very, because I texted you, I was like, why does she care so, did I miss something?
Yeah,
why does she care too much about it?
Literally was so
and then I was like,
timing.
oh.
Yeah. No, you know what? I will say one more thing, because we really didn't touch on her at all, but she was one of probably my favorite point of the movie. It's actually the reason I think they could make another one, and that's Carl's younger sister in the film. The one that ends up becoming, you know, and we're not going to go too much detail into that, but she just does a very extremely well job of, like, leading this very... It really felt like, you know what she felt like? She felt like the main girl from Terrifier to me. Like, where she's, like, the hero girl, the bad thing happens to her, and then that side of her. I loved the effects that they did, and I loved, you know,
it wasn't
the makeup
cringy.
they had. It
like,
wasn't.
Like, so a lot of possession movies can be cringy as hell with that. They did a really good job.
Fantastic.
The voice was a little... I wasn't too big on the voice at times, if I'm, like, really nitpicking. But I thought everything else was... I think the makeup was perfect. It wasn't too much, not too little. I think they did a really good job with the possession.
It's funny. I actually did like the voice. Not gonna lie. But that part, like he said, everything, it kind of came together. And then, like, the whole reveal at the end with the time, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And just that final shot of her kind of coming to... Her character just gives me, like, she looks like Sydney Sweeney. She gives me, like,
Sydney Sweeney.
yeah, like,
nuts.
Terrifier, you know, the main character vibes. Like, I could totally see how they continue the story along. And you could honestly, even a way, not bring these characters back, but, like, you could bring them back in flashbacks and, like, allude back to the original and continue this on if they were to either make another or bring it to a studio or whatever they did.
You do prequels on the other stuff that they talked about. You know what I mean? Because basically,
100%.
the house has a history. He goes and moves into this house, whatever, and, like, what was it, a year prior, someone was murdered there, and then it was, like, back in the 60s, someone was murdered there, you know what I mean? So,
that's
like,
where it started.
Exactly, so this house is haunted.
What did they call him? The
dude with the overalls?
Yeah, the Cajun man?
Yeah.
No, the Creole man.
Creole man.
The Cajun man. I was saying Cajun Creole.
Yeah. No, the Creole man. Yeah, so you can keep going forward on the possession thing and have the girl come back. Maybe she's in jail, you know what I mean, and was framed for that whole thing, and she could be talking to the people that are there. You could do, like, a whole, you know, Halloween reboot thing with Jamie Lee Curtis type thing. You do some really cool stuff, man. So if they want to keep going with it, they definitely can, but they need y'all's support, man, so definitely go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the website. Literally right there, www.ipossessed.com. Go check it out, baby. And I'll put all the links, like I said, in the description down below. So, you gonna rate this bad boy?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You go first.
I am gonna give it And this is like genuinely like this is how we do 10 out of 10s every time, like 10 being in like Oscar nominated movie. I'm gonna give it like a 7.9. You know what I mean? I really enjoy this film. I think there's also a dent that comes with horror a lot. You know, I really like a specific niche of horror, so unless it's that, I really don't rank horror super high. But this film has a lot of the things that I like. This is like a CB movie to me. You know what I mean? This is something that I suggest we'll see on streaming platforms for a while. I could totally see it actually getting into even more theaters than it is. But it's going to be one of those movies that kind of surges again, you know what I mean? I think it's going to, like, once people start to see it, they're like, dude, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And then it's going to happen all over again. But this is a movie, you've seen stuff like this before, and they just take the story elements and the plot elements that normal studios wouldn't do with the mainstream stylistic of the film, and that's what makes it so good. It's creative, and it's just technically done so well. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a good 7.9, 8.0, something like that.
I like that. I will say this: when you watch this movie, you have to know what you're getting into. You know what I'm saying? You have to know the type of film it is.
Right.
And when I watched it, I was expecting something a lot more serious. So you know what I mean? But after watching it, I know what it is now. If I watch it for a second time, it's gonna be a lot higher. My first reaction was a 6 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie is it kind of knows what it is. And I think if you go into it knowing to not take it serious...
It is funny because we talk about that a lot in movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, even movies that want to be taken seriously. It's like, I rate it off of how I think what the movie is.
Right.
And so, that even with like really big studio movies, if I can see it as another genre or something else, then I'll lean into that. That's what I do with this film. I think I'll probably give it, because it's just a goofy, fun film, I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10. I like it. This is a nice 7 out of 10. It's a good film. It's a fun film, and I think everyone should definitely go check it out, man. And just for some of the really cool artistic shots and the character development, which I'm big on. I'm a big character guy. The story can be absolute garbage, but if you give me a good set of characters that I can care about and really like and be relatable with, and that are very vulnerable, because that's where the relatability comes from, which they were in this movie. That's what the movie's about, is being vulnerable to your past and your mistakes from your past.
Right.
Then I think that's what really draws me in. I think they did a really good job with the characters in this film, so that's why I give it a 7.
And the story didn't suck. Like, the story was actually super cool.
It was a really good story. Yeah.
I think what the messages come through so well in this movie, and I feel like a lot of movies, like, something I can't stand is when I watch a movie and I'm just like, why the fuck did they make that? Like, you're just trying to be creative and put shit on a screen. But, like, the messages of this film really come out in every way. Like, you can get you could say the theme of this movie is so many different things. Of course, at the end, it is the main theme is what you said. But
for each individual character. Right,
and then you could get a theme for every character. So, I just like how deep the movie goes, and the writers of the script really knew what they were doing as well. They had a really good idea going into this. So.
Carl.
Yeah, Carl and his team. So, good on you, Carl. Good on you, Tammy. You guys are the goats.
Alright, we love y'all, man. Listen, like I said, all this stuff will be in the link down in the description below. Go check it out. Go support a nice indie film, man. It's a lot of fun. If you guys like this type of films, then go check it out. Even if you don't, go check it out, baby. Go support these local filmmakers. But anyways, like I said, everything will be down in the link in the description down below. Give this video a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want us to watch next. We love y'all, man. Stay safe. See you next time.
What do you want me to watch?